What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater. I actually had another video all recorded for today, but I decided to give you guys a live one up in this piece because we're doing one video a day, and I figured, why not do a new one, right? Today, we're going to talk about the 5 most overrated wrestlers in the world today. Now, for those of you that don't understand, overrated does not mean bad. It means overrated, motherfucks. So, for example, there's wrestlers that are going to be worse than the ones on this list. A great example of this would be, Noam Dar. Noam Dar is not on this list, and he's probably worse than almost everyone in here. Humberto Carrillo is another one. But the problem is, nobody cares about Humberto Carrillo, and nobody cares about Noam Dar. Overrated is a term that we use in the world, and in wrestling as well, to distinguish people who have a big disparity between their actual skill and their perceived skill, right? So, for example, a great actor would be Nicolas Cage. An overrated actor would be Denzel Washington. Now, I know you're thinking, Hater, Denzel's a great actor. I agree, motherfucks. He is a great actor. But he's still overrated because people pretend that him and Tom Hanks are the 2 best actors. They're both overrated. You know what I'm saying? Give me Morgan Freeman any day. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. Let's get to it. Starting off this list at number 5, we've got Kenny Omega. This is just as good as an example as Denzel Washington. Now, is Kenny Omega a great wrestler? In my opinion, no. But he's at the very least a good Cody Rhodes level wrestler, right? Cody Rhodes is also overrated, but he's got a little bit more to him than Kenny Omega. Number 1, he can talk on the mic. Number 2, he's got a better look. Number 3, he's a little bit bigger. And number 4, he's a Rhodes, motherfucks. And number 5, he's in WWE. But Kenny Omega, I think, number 5 is good on this list because people act like you can talk to people and they will legitimately say things like Kenny Omega is the best wrestler of all time. So if that's not overrated, I don't know what is, right? You know, like when you think of best wrestler of all time, you probably think of Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Sting, maybe if you're one of those guys, Hogan, Ric Flair. If it's not one of those people, you're wrong, motherfuckers. You're wrong. And I love a lot of people that are right there, like Booker T, Rey Mysterio, who is one of the greatest in my opinion. Christian, I haven't been I've been honest about that. I love Christian very much as a wrestler. But Randy Orton is another one where he's obviously not the best wrestler of all time. You know what I mean? It's obvious. Triple H is also honestly not on that list, right? Triple H is not the same level as Shawn Michaels or Jericho or these other guys. He just isn't, right? So Kenny Omega is on the category below the category that's below that category, right? He's on the level of a Finn Balor, a Cody Rhodes, a guy that should be a mid-carder, right? But people pretend like he's the best thing ever, God's gift to wrestling, you know what I mean? But as you're going to see in this list, the rest are much worse, in my personal opinion. Coming at number 4, this is a recent addition up in this motherfucker, Jey Uso. Now, Jey Uso, he is decent on the mic, not even on the mic, but as a presence, right? But in the ring, in my opinion, Jey Uso, and as well as Jimmy Uso, and literally every other Samoan, basically, except for Roman Reigns, they're just mid in the ring, right? Jey Uso, I think, is below mid. Him and Jimmy Uso have the same Samoan moveset. They got the Samoan drop, they got the shitty-looking super kick, they got the ass smash in the corner, right? And they got the Samoan splash, right? That's really all he does. He doesn't do anything else. You know, he does the little, Tequila Sunrise. He did that for 3 matches 10 years ago. And he does a little, essentially the whisper in the wind, but he hasn't done that in years either, right? So it's he's not that good. You know what I mean? The fact that he's booked to be this convincing, heel, main event Jey Uso is just absurd, right? If it's if it weren't for Roman Reigns, he would never be in that position, right? You can look at Giovanni Vinci, right? From Imperium. He's 100 times better than Jey Uso in the ring. He's 100 times more athletic. He's 100 times stronger. He's 100 times faster. But Jey Uso somehow, I'm supposed to be convinced that with his shitty Samoan moveset, he's better than people that are supposed to be main eventers, right? It's why? Why is he better than Jimmy Uso? They do the same moves. They look the same. It's not one's stronger than the other, right? Solo Sikoa is the same thing, except he does 2 more moves, right? He does the other 2 Samoan moves, the Uranagi and the Samoan Spike. Otherwise, he's the same exact thing. He does super kicks, he does the ass smash, he does the Uso splash, right? It's we only need one of these motherfuckers. We don't need all of them. So, Jey Uso, while he's a decent tag guy, right? And he's a twin, and twins are always marketable, in my opinion, as tag teams, this recent push into main event Jey Uso, quote unquote, is what puts him on the list. And it's also why Jimmy Uso is not on the list, because he's just not that relevant, motherfucks. Coming in at number 3, we've got good old Orange Cassidy, all right? Now, Orange Cassidy, I personally don't like him at all. I think he's complete garbage. But I can see a scenario, you know what I mean? I can see a scenario where, Orange Cassidy is liked by some people as a shitty comedy act, right? In the same vein as Danhausen, right? It's like, not my cup of tea. I think it's bad for wrestling. But at the same time, I do understand that, he is what he is, right? He gets it. But under no circumstances should Orange Cassidy be beating Jericho clean. Under no circumstances should Orange Cassidy be a singles champion in any capacity. And under no circumstances should he be beating people like Dean Ambrose and Christian Cage and Jericho, like I said before, or even having any sort of pseudo-serious match, right? As a comedy jobber, feuding with someone like R-Truth or like Tozawa, perfectly fine. You can keep him like that, that's fine. But the fact that he's treated semi-seriously is absurd. And it is a shame on wrestling. But he is not as bad as the next guy on the list. And that is MJF. Now, MJF is in a unique position in this list because I think he's actually decent, right? He's got a shitty moveset. And in my opinion, he's mid on the mic. I don't think he's this great talker. And forget about him being charismatic. He's not charismatic, right? He's weird. He's awkward, right? This guy was not cool in high school. He was not cool in college. He's a dork, right? He's basically like a Tony Khan, but he is eloquent, right? He doesn't stumble his words. He gets them going, right? But he's not like a cool guy. If you saw MJF at a bar, you would definitely not think, oh, that's the coolest guy in the bar. You would never think that, right? If you saw Edge, Christian, Booker T, Randy Orton, you know what I mean? If you saw these guys at a bar, you'd be like, that's the coolest person in this bar, right? You would just know, you would feel it because they are charismatic, right? MJF is not. In the ring, in my opinion, he's essentially crap. He does the moves that he does decent. He doesn't really botch much, but he's boring. You know what I mean? A Fujiwara armbar for a finisher, that's boring, right? The heat-seeking pile driver thing, that's stupid. The only thing that he does, he stole from William Regal, and that's the little ring shot, right? Which is essentially the power of the punch. That's something that I like, but he stole that from Regal, and when Regal did it, it was amazing. When I got SmackDown 3 or whatever the fuck it was called, and they put that in as his finisher, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. They actually put it in as his finisher, because it was his finisher, right? But MJF, in my opinion, is overrated for that reason. While he could easily have a Bobby Roode level career, while he could easily have a Jinder Mahal, but hopefully without the title run, level career, he could have a decent and respectable WWE career. I could see him going to WWE, let's say next year, and he's 26, 27, right? And I could see him being there for 10 years, right? And having a push, having a Kofi Kingston-esque career, right? Hopefully without the title, right? Maybe even give him one title. But the point is, people act like this guy is Stone Cold, you know what I mean? Or The Rock, and he's neither of those guys. He's nowhere near, motherfucks. If MJF was around the Attitude Era, he would be an extra. He would be like Robert Stone, Robbie E., also known as Stan, getting super kicked by Shawn Michaels in the back. Or I think that was Shawn Spears. Whatever, it doesn't matter. One of those jobbers, right? He would be in that role, right? So the fact that people act like he's this guaranteed future Hall of Famer and guaranteed main eventer at WrestleMania is just absurd, right? It's and think about it. The facts just don't merit this, right? People like Cody Rhodes are a bigger deal, and he didn't win the title at WrestleMania. People like Finn Balor were 100 times a bigger deal when they were signed, right? Hideo Itami, Sin Cara, all these jobbers who are failures were all much more high profile than MJF. So the fact that people expect MJF to become this big deal, it's really stupid. To me, he's he can come and he can be in the team with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, right? That's where he belongs, in that kind of scenario, right? A mid-card NXT guy and a lower-card Grayson Waller type undercard guy who jobs out to LA Knight, a real star, on SmackDown, right? Grayson Waller is a great example of, in my opinion, perfectly rated, right? He is a 3 out of 10 as a wrestler, and he is treated like a 3 out of 10, right? So I'm not even mad. You can keep him around. Now, coming in at number 1, I'm sure some of you are expecting Karrion Kross to be here, but as we've just established, Karrion Kross sucks is a jobber and has been treated like a jobber for like 3 years, right? So it's over, right? Remember that video that I made where people were like, this is not it, hater. You're wrong about this one. And I was like, he's going to be a jobber, but he's going to be a main eventer. And here we are, motherfuckers. Here we are. He's probably feuding with like, fucking, who's he? I don't even know. He hasn't been on TV in like 2 years. They hired him back. They're paying him for nothing. It is what it is. But coming in at number one, it's actually someone else. Someone that a lot of people like, right? And someone that the hater used to like. None other than Gunther, motherfuckers. Gunther is the number one jobber, right? Gunther, in my opinion, is overrated because he is generic and boring, right? Now, people want to like him for some reason, right? Primarily because he represents that indie mentality, right? He represents that work hard, grind set mentality, right? But this business is not about working hard. This business is about being awesome. And Gunther, even though he has tendencies of being awesome, like I really admire the fact that he lost all the weight so he could be more presentable. And in some scenarios, I like him. However, as a character, Gunther is overrated, right? You can give this guy a 3-year Intercontinental title run, and tomorrow, once he loses it, it would not be a shocker at all if he loses to Xavier Woods clean in a meaningless match. It would not be a shocker at all if Carmelo Hayes debuts and beats him clean. It would not be a shock if Braun Breaker does the same, right? It would not be a shock if Gunther becomes relegated to a mid/undercard guy, right? He has been Intercontinental Champion for a long time, and while people present it as a good thing, it's not a good thing, right? If you are a mid-carder for like 2 years, right, that just means that you're going to be a mid-carder for your whole career. These fantasies that Gunther's going to win the Royal Rumble are insane, motherfuckers. You have to look at the career trajectory of Gunther. Where was he 1 year ago, right? Let's pretend it's WrestleMania season, or closer to that, Royal Rumble. Last year, he was the Intercontinental Champion, and he had a very strong showing at the Rumble. This year, at the Rumble, he will probably be Intercontinental Champion, and he will have a strong but less strong showing at the Rumble, right? What I mean by this, the reason why it's relevant is because it shows that in 1 year, left alone with the prestigious title, he does not have the capacity to advance himself, right? He is where they tell him to be. And I'm sure he's good at that. That's why he's around, right? But you compare him to LA Knight. I believe at the last Royal Rumble, LA Knight was jobbing out to Bray Wyatt, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? He was jobbing out in a Mountain Dew match. And look at what he has been able to do in 1 short year, less than a year, really, right? Look what he's been able to do. He's gotten himself over, right? That's what it takes. Gunther is not really over. Gunther is, like I said before, another Bull Dempsey, another Vladimir Kozlov, right? It's like this guy adds nothing, right? The fact that Gunther has his gimmick, like, ask yourself, if Vladimir Kozlov, who apparently is back in TNA, right? If Vladimir Kozlov was still around, and they gave him the gimmick of Imperium. But instead of Germans, it was a bunch of Soviets. It was him, Ilya Dragunov, and I don't know, they got some other Russian, right? And they put him in there, and it was the same exact gimmick. A bunch of serious Europeans, right, who kick ass, right? It's the same exact thing. Like, Ilya Dragunov is basically Marcel Bartel. They even look alike, right? You could have taken, I don't know, Cesaro or Giovanni Vinci, who are also the same thing, and put him with Kozlov and Ilya Dragunov, and nothing would change, right? Kozlov, if he were Intercontinental Champion, he would behave the exact same way as Gunther. Because Gunther is not a unique and interesting character. Gunther is literally just a guy who's there. We've seen this. We see this every week, I should say. In every episode of Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, TNA, anything. The guy that's just there, right? In AEW, it's Kip Sabian and Miro, right? They could have put Miro with Kozlov and Ilya Dragunov. That would have been probably better because at least some of these guys have some character, right? And at least Dragunov does like actual moves. Walter is exactly what indie wrestling fans are not supposed to like. If you took, I don't know, SmackDown or WWE, Shut Your Mouth, whatever the fuck it was called, right? Or Here Comes the Pain, and you go and you say, create new character, right? And you make him look like Walter, right? And you don't change his moves, he will have Walter's moveset. He will have a powerbomb that looks botchy every time. He'll have a clothesline, he'll have a sleeper, and he'll have a top rope splash, right? These are the moves of boring wrestlers, right? This is almost at the same level as the Samoan moveset. You know, he used to do that Last Symphony thing, which was pretty cool, but even that is not that great, right? It's basically a power slam. So what I'm getting at here is this, right? Gunther has nothing special going for him. Nothing special. You can go and watch the old NXT UKs, and you can take, I don't know, Joe Coffey, right? Or the other Coffey, or Wolfgang, and they have the same character, the same charisma as Gunther. They're not bad guys. It's not like, I'm not saying Gunther has no charisma. I mean, he really doesn't, but like, he hasn't had a chance. But the idea is, they don't add anything by being there, right? The fact that Gunther is there and is the Intercontinental Champion does not change the facet of the show in any capacity, right? You look at other people that are, I guess we'll call them mid-carders, like Chad Gable, who really is an undercarder, right? Like, you compare, let's say, Chad Gable to Gunther, to Shelton Benjamin, to these generic jobbers, right? Some of them are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but they're generic, right? The people are like, oh, I can't believe Shelton Benjamin didn't become champion. I can. I like Shelton Benjamin, but how are you going to make that guy champion? Why, right? Why when you can make Randy Orton champion, right? You can make other people that are better champion. So that's kind of the thing. That's why Shelton Benjamin stuck around in the mid-card. That's why Kofi Kingston stuck around in the mid-card, right? It takes something truly extraordinary to elevate these jobbers to that level, right? Nakamura's another one, right? It's just a guy. Nakamura is literally just a guy. They can call him the artist all they want. Oh, the artist is painting his masterpiece. What masterpiece? He does 3 moves, right? What are his tools? The knee and the foot. That's all he does, right? Gunther, a little bit more versatile with the moves, but let's be real, motherfucks. You can go and watch a Rey Mysterio match, right? And Rey Mysterio in one match will do more wrestling moves than Gunther will have done in his entire WWE career. You know what I mean? So there you have it. That's what I gotta say about that. And with that being said, motherfucks, that was the list of the 5 most, overrated wrestlers, motherfucks.